Welcome to One on One with Mitch Lafon, and joining me on this episode from the band Korn, it is drummer RAY LUZIER. We talk about their new album, The Serenity of Suffering, and what it's like to have Head back in the band. Before then, please head over to Twitter, check me out at Mitch Lafon, and on Facebook, One on One Mitch Lafon. And with that, here is the one, the only, RAY LUZIER. We are speaking with Korn drummer RAY LUZIER. The new album is The Serenity of the Suffering, coming out in October. Ray, always a great pleasure to talk to you.
Great to be here, man.
And it's great to see how you've really fit in with the Korn guys. Because, when you start being the replacement guy, sometimes you're just one of 5 or 6 or 3, and you've stuck it out. And it's just a testament to what you do. Talk to me. You go ahead.
It's crazy. No, this is my 9th year. October starts my 10th, and if you'd have told me 15 years ago I'd have been a member of Korn for 10 years, I would have laughed in your face because it just didn't seem real. I've been the working musician guy, putting a wig on one day, playing disco, and playing a stadium the next day, and then going to teach a drum lesson, and then going to play on someone's record. I've just been the working, drummer. And very fortunate to be a member of such a legendary band that's pushing 40 million sales of records and just playing literally the planet. I can't say enough about how much it through the years it's just evolved. It took me some time. And I'm a fan of music. I still go see a lot of shows, and I know what it's like when I see some new guy up there. When I saw a new guy singing for Alice in Chains, when I saw Dean Castronovo playing for Journey instead of Steve Smith. There's all these, it just happens, you know what I mean? But the thing is, someone's going to do it. Someone's going to take the place of somebody so the band can live on. And if it wasn't me, it would be somebody else. So it took a lot of the diehard Korn fans many years to really accept me and take me in, because they've had tattoos of all the 5 original on their arms, and Korn's music has really done a lot and changed people's lives. And I didn't realize it when I first got in,
Yeah, and it's great to see that. Now you mentioned Dean with Journey. He had his difficulties these years, and I had a chance to speak with him recently, and it's nice to know that he's gotten his life back together.
Yeah.
And that's great. Now, I almost saw Korn at the Amnesia Rock Fest in Quebec. Unfortunately, I was there with Twisted Sister, and we left before you played, but I had a chance to say hi to you quickly backstage. Did you enjoy that festival?
Oh, I did. It was really cool. And I watched some of the Twisted show myself before we went on, and again, like I said, we're fans of the bands. We always hang out. I love the festivals when there's a lot of cool bands on the bill, because you always get to run into friends and old crew guys, and I was talking to Portnoy, and it was just. It's really like reunions, all these festivals. I mean, it's great what we're doing now with the Rob Zombie Korn tour. It's the same lineup every single day. But I love the festivals because you always get a taste and flavor of different things. Like, and Korn plays with everyone. We'll play with Journey to Slayer. It's all over the gamut. That's what's cool about my band. We don't really get pigeonholed in just the metal shows all the time.
Yeah, that's great too, and that's what's great about those festivals. Now, let's get into the Serenity of Suffering, the 12th album by the band. What is sort of your contribution? Is it just, hey, drummer guy, go lay down some tracks, or do you get involved in the writing and the direction?
No.
And what? Okay.
Yeah, they really. I can't say enough about it. Everyone always says, like, this is the best record we've ever done. I can honestly say, since I've been in the band, this is the strongest and most just strong-filled songs. I mean, they're just we weeded out the fat, so to speak, on everything. We wrote a bunch of songs this time. We really took our time with it, and got all these riffs together, and we all wrote equally. 4 of us got together months before John, and just started compiling riffs and grooves and ideas and compiling arrangements. And then it was time to bring in a producer. And the long story short, we went through quite a few guys, and Nick Raskulinecz kept coming up. And every time, I remember buying Snakes and Arrows and saying, wow, Rush has this new vibe about them. They sound energetic, and I looked down, Nick Raskulinecz. Same with the, Alice in Chains and the last two Deftones records. When I heard Diamond Eyes, I was like, wow, the vibe of this is just incredible. I looked down at Nick Raskulinecz and, of course, the Foo Fighters, everything he's ever done. And just, he's such a passionate guy. Nick has a way of making the band feel like the way they're supposed to, and he definitely achieved that on this new record. I love everything we've ever done. We even went off the deep end and did a dubstep record, and we brought the old producer Ross Robinson back in. But there's something about the old school feel mixed with modern sounds, and that's exactly what happened on this new record. And the new video is out right now that features Tommy Flanagan from Sons of Anarchy, and it's just getting a buzz. We almost have 1.5 million hits in 4 days, and it's really getting well received. And I'm super stoked. To answer your question, we all wrote collectively on this, and Jonathan went in towards the end and laid the lyrics and melodies.
Yeah, and I saw the video. It looks great. Now, being sort of quote unquote the new guy, even though it's been 10 years. Do you go back and say, listen, you've got to sound like 1994 or Life is Peachy or Follow the Leader? Or do you just say, let's try something completely different in terms of how do you see the music for the band? Do you want them to sound old school or do you want to keep them moving forward?
Yeah, well, I was a fan for many years, so I obviously, your first few records of any band, that kind of sets the boundaries. Like, here's what we are, here's what we're all about. Well, if you gain the masses on that, like Korn did, I mean, they got big really quick and stayed on this cloud for many, many years, and 22 years later, they're still going strong. So, obviously, if you develop that sound and if you turn left or turn right too far, you're going to piss off a lot of fans. You might gain some other ones, but I kind of dig being in a band like this that's not afraid to take chances. Jonathan, the singer, is really into 80s pop, and he's into electronic music. He's not a metalhead at all. That's the last thing you'll ever catch that guy listen to is heavy music. He can't stand it, actually. So to be in such an aggressive band, for me personally, this is exactly what I wanted on the new record. I wanted elements of the old Korn, that vibe and fury they once had, but I also wanted modern today because we are 2016. I don't want to sound like, and there's a lot of my favorite bands like Maiden and AC/DC, and you pretty much know what the next Maiden record is going to sound like because they have a formula that works great. Why would they change that? I kind of like Korn the way that we put out a dubstep record after, and people just went, what? But this to me, the Serenity of Suffering is definitely all the elements combined into one. It's got the fury, it's got great melodies. The guitar, Nick had the two guitar players play together at the same time, which they haven't done in forever, facing each other. I did the drum tracks very raw. We didn't do a lot of fixes. I hate records that are so polished these days. They sound so perfect, and even some of the biggest bands out there right now, it's you see them live and you're like, they don't sound like that. The Korn has a looseness about it, and we wanted to make sure we captured that on this record. I did use a click track, but I'm not, we didn't go back in and go nuts with fixes and all that. We wanted to keep the energy raw and really have that feel.
Yeah, and the couple of tracks I've heard, because it's not out till October, they sound that it captures that raw energy that you like with a band. Mm-hmm. Now, you did a couple of albums with the band without Brian. What does he bring to the sound? Because, when you played the songs and you were on tour with them and he wasn't there, it sounded a certain way. It's like with Slash being back with Guns N' Roses. Those Chinese Democracy songs all of a sudden sound like Guns N' Roses. Is that sort of what
Yep.
Head?
Yes, that's a good comparison actually, because they have something that comes out of their fingers. It's not no one hits a bass like Fieldy. No one plays guitar like Monkey and Head. They have this thing about them that they do, and it's undeniable. So I mean, I had 3 guitar players that replaced Head. During those first few years he wasn't back, or 7 to be exact. And that guy, the hired gun guys didn't want to lose the gig, much like the Guns N' Roses hired gun guys. They didn't want to lose that gig, so of course they're going to play as best as they possibly can, But there's Monkey and Head don't play like that. They don't play like they're going to lose their gig. They play raw feel energy, and it's an angst, and there's a fury about it. So of course the hired guys, they played perfect every night. So when Head got back in the band, I was like, whoa, there was this whole new surge of, that's what this sounds like. Like, would play Good God or Blind or, Falling Away From Me, Freak on a Leash, all the giant hits. And it was like, oh, that's how it's coming through his fingers. It's coming through them, and yes, it was a big difference. And writing Paradigm Shift with them was a big change, because now I got to see how the writing process happened. And they throw ideas at each other and they bounce just little subtle things. There's a very simplistic way they do things. And then I think we were all getting our feet wet having him back in the band the last several years touring. And now with the new record, this is like, okay, this is what the band's supposed to sound like,
Yeah, and when you think of some of those older bands, the Van Halens and all that, you think of guitar heroes, you think of Eddie Van Halen, you think of Slash.
Sure.
The new metal guys, we didn't really have any guitar heroes. Do you think that a guy like Head is underrated? Do you think he is, better than just the guy in Korn? Like, would you put him on the same?
You know what? I got hired for years to do the Shrapnel records. I've done probably 25 records that all those guitar shredder guys. So I got used to playing back before it was called prog. I was on a lot of those records, and we're just blazing guitar solos and arpeggios and string skipping and how fast can I play clean, and and it's like there's no solos in this band. So when I come out of the David Lee Roth band from, a guy imitating Eddie as best as he could, and even Army of Anyone with Dean DeLeo playing the leads the way he did, and many bands before that, to go into a band where like, oh, there's no solo section. This is really bizarre. But there's a fury about the music that happens in between the second chorus and the next chorus, before the bridge. So to answer your question, these guys are great. I mean, I've heard Monkey and Head both play leads where I'm just like, you guys are really great. Why aren't you playing leads and stuff? I'm in a side band with George Lynch, called KXM.
That was my next question, actually, by the way.
Yeah. And I didn't realize, but the reason Head plays guitar is because of George Lynch. So when he found out what my side band was, he's like, are you kidding me? He goes, can I meet that guy? I'm like, of course you can, So he was literally like freaked out to meet George because George was hanging all over his walls. He was a huge Dokken fan, and one of the reasons he started playing guitar is because of George. So, but then they underestimate what they can do, because every time they kind of screw around at soundchecks playing leads, and I'm like, Head, that was amazing. You guys should have this guitar duel during the live show. People would lose their minds because they really don't know you guys can play like that, and they don't want to do it. It's just the thing. It's not their thing, and but I think there's a beauty about that. There's something to be said about that.
I can imagine them jamming "It's Not Love" during soundcheck.
Dude, we're in the studio doing drum tracks. Nick Raskulinix and Brian Head Welch both have broomsticks in their hands, because we'd put on like old records. We'd put on like Sabbath and Dokken and King Diamond, all these bizarre, rare, old vinyl. And, I have videotapes on my phone of Brian and Nick air jamming the guitar solos. It's the funniest thing on the planet. I wish I could put them out.
Yeah. Well, you could, but you might be looking for a new gig at some point. But,
they might get upset. Yeah.
So let's talk about KXM for a bit. The first album came out in 2014. You, in February, as far as I know, because I saw it on Facebook and all that, you recorded album number 2.
Yes.
It's not out, and I don't see it on any release schedule. So inform me, where are we going with that album? When's it going to be out?
Yep. We did all the basics. We did the same formula as we did the first KXM. George, Doug, and I have been friends for years, and we just said we don't want to come in with any preconceived notions or ideas. We just want to, what do you got today? Here's the groove. Here's there's certain songs I'd start out with. So we basically did the second record the same way. We booked 12 days of studio time and didn't have one note written. So we walked in the first day at noon. What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? And we all just went for it. And there was a big cloudy mess. And then all of a sudden around 5 p.m., everything started coming together. I was tracking drums for the record at 6 p.m. We wanted it super fresh like that. And I'm really stoked on this. We did the basics very quick, 13 songs in 12 days. George and Doug are both in like 5, 6 bands apiece. So, there was King's X dates, there was Lynch Mob dates, there's all these side projects going on. Doug is just now getting to finishing up the vocals. So, what I've heard so far sounds really great. I haven't heard everything yet because, like I said, it's all over the place. So I'm not sure of the release date, but we're hoping before the end of the year.
And that's what's great.
We have time for one last question.
No worries. So,
okay.
So then, boy, let me see which one we're going to go with. Well, let's go with this one then. You recently got married?
Yes, I did. Finally.
Yes, finally. How long?
46 years old.
Well, yeah, there you go. Tell me a little bit about that. That must have been fun to sort of.
Well, we already have a couple houses. We have 2 kids. I mean, we're more married than some of my married friends.
Right.
It's she knows more about the bills and the personal stuff in our household than I do, and after 7 years of being together, and it was awesome having the kids in the wedding. That was nothing more beautiful than our 5-year-old Hudson and 16-month-old Beck being in the wedding. Very private ceremony. We didn't have anyone there. We just had our buddies film us and take photos. And our great friend Sebastian Paquette took video. He works for Korn, and made a beautiful video for our families. And it was very intimate, and I'm super happy it happened.
Yeah, and I'm happy for you. And if I can finish with this one, because I had a bunch of these. Your first album with the band was Korn 3, Remember Who You Are. What have you noticed in terms of progression or change from that first time you were in the studio to now? And I'm talking musically, the way you felt, were you nervous that first time? Are you more at ease now? Just sort of the whole then and now.
The first track I ever recorded was Kidnapped to Sandy Claus, and that was on the Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack. And check out, tell your listeners to check that out, or your readers, because I'm really proud of the way that came out. We took a Danny Elfman classical song and made it this metal crazy song, and so that kind of broke the ice for all the future recordings. Once we got through that, I'm like, okay, I see how this works. It's going to be, having Korn 3 was very rough on me because of Ross Robinson, the original producer, coming back in the band. It was very he runs things very different, and I wasn't used to that after doing so many records in my career. In that being the first official Korn record, it was quite a twist. I'm proud of the record, but I wish it would have been handled a little differently. But like I said, through the years, we've definitely evolved, and we toured nonstop. This band never really stopped. So playing so many hundreds of shows a year, you really get tight with each other. So I couldn't wait to get in the studio for this newest record, because we're just like a machine,
Yeah, there you go. And of course, you've got the Nocturnal Underground tour with Breaking Benjamin coming. You're on tour with Rob Zombie, and hopefully at some point I'll see you with Jerry Finn at a Killer Dwarf show. Wouldn't that be sensational?
Absolutely. We got to do it, man. And tell all your people to check out Korn.com for all the dates. We always have stuff on there.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. And, hey, we'll have to do a part 2 at some point.
Absolutely, Mitch. Well, have a great one, and I hope to see you out there somewhere.
Absolutely. Cheers.
All right, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And there you have it, folks. My interview with Ray Luzier of the band Korn. The new album coming out soon is The Serenity of Suffering. Always a pleasure to talk to Ray. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, please support me through the PayPal link that I have at paypal.me/Mitch Lafon, MITCHLAFON. And please check me out on Twitter at Mitch Lafon and Facebook one-on-one Mitch Lafon. And as I like to say, bye for now. Oh my.